Millions of children across Africa are dyslexic, but most are never diagnosed. They're called lazy, careless, even bewitched. Why do so many parents and teachers still see dyslexia as a myth rather than a reality?
Because they don't know. They don't even know there's something as dyslexia. And when they don't know there's something as dyslexia, then you don't expect them to think in the other way. So then it's our job as champions to get the message out there to them.
She went through her entire childhood unable to read or write. Every day in school, she was told she wasn't smart enough, that she didn't belong, that something was wrong with her. She wasn't good. At 17, she learned to read for the very first time. At 30, she finally discovered she was dyslexic. Most people would have stopped there, but she turned that struggle into a movement. Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey, as founder of the Africa Dyslexia Organization, she leads a network spanning 38 countries and counting, training advocates, transforming schools, changing mindsets.
So in 2019, I did an article called What Every Parent Needs to Know About Dyslexia. I was getting emails. I added my emails that, hey, if your child is going through this and you want to contact me, I can speak with you. If you're a teacher and you want to know more, I can speak with you. My phone will be buzzing. After the number of inquiries, the number of stories I have gone within with parents and some teachers made me realize there is a huge problem that needs solution.
This is the untold story of dyslexia in Africa and the woman leading the revolution. Hey, it's Joy, and this is the Joy of Neurodiversity podcast. Here we break down stereotypes, celebrate the brilliance of different minds, and get real about what it actually means to be neurodivergent. Because at the heart of it all, neurodiversity isn't just a concept, it's people. It's lived experiences, challenges, strengths, and the stories that connect us. Whether you're here to learn, feel seen, or reimagine what's possible, you're in the right place. By pressing play, you're choosing to embrace a new way of thinking, one that honors every brain for what it brings. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode. Today on The Joy of Neurodiversity, you're about to hear one of the most powerful stories of resilience and advocacy I've shared on the podcast so far. I honestly can't think of a better way to launch season 2 and Dyslexia Awareness Month than with this conversation. In this conversation, you'll hear how Rosalin turned her lived experience into action, what it takes to challenge the myths and stigmas that still surround dyslexia, and her vision for an Africa where neurodivergent learners can thrive. So, Rosalin, I am so happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks to be here with you.
I know. I'm so excited. We'll talk a little bit more about the conference, but I was supposed to meet you earlier this year, and I'm so upset that I wasn't able to, but could not be happier that you are on the podcast with us to share your stories. If we can just jump straight in and talk about when you think about the next generation of dyslexic thinkers in Africa, what gives you the most hope?
Well, that is a very deep and tough question, I must say. The reason being is when it comes to Africa and adults and children, individuals with dyslexia and related learning differences, we're now picking up on the awareness, being so that a lot of countries, a lot of people are not aware that there are genuinely children and adults who experiences difficulties in learning or they learn differently. And so when you ask me like the hope for dyslexic thinkers in Africa, for me that hope will be when the awareness is out there and people recognize that this is an issue and this needs an urgent call for us to train teachers. One, first of all, recognizing it, train teachers, championing inclusion at the workplace that supports neurodiverse people, such as people with dyslexia and all that. If the awareness is not there, the hope is very limited, because children or adults will not get the needed support they need,
Yeah.
and we will not identify them. And if we haven't identified them and support them, how do you have hope for it? And so for me, that's what I would say to this question.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful, and I really connect with that so much because it's what's the lack of awareness, it's what led me to start this podcast. When I first started talking about dyslexia and then neurodivergence in general, I had convinced myself that people know about dyslexia, they know about neurodivergence, that I've missed the boat, I shouldn't be talking about it. And then what I came to find out is that people do not know about it. There are so many gaps when it comes to understanding, and it's why what you're doing is so important. But if we could, I want to just go back to the beginning because I haven't given you a chance to talk about who you are and your journeys. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, your journey and connection to neurodiversity, and what brought you to do the work that you're doing today?
Okay, that's a long one.
It's a long one, I know. Just tell us about yourself.
Okay, so first of all, I am from Ghana, located in West Africa. I grew up here and did most part of my education here in Ghana. But back in school, I was known as one of the troublesome students,
Mm.
very lazy, disruptive, all kind of a description that really is not me, but they almost turned me into that just because
Yep.
I was struggling so much in school with learning. My academic performance was really really not there. It was so sad, and that went to it followed me through to like 17 when I eventually started picking up words to be able to read and write. And even at 17, I wouldn't say like I was 70% or even 60% good at reading. And
Mm.
because reading ran through almost every subject, if you're not
Yeah.
able to read and all that people tell you is you're not good, it tends to follow you. And so it actually followed me. And unfortunately, in Ghana, or fortunately, what they do is you have to write an exams and pass before you go to a high school. And usually
Okay.
people write these exams at the age of 14, 15, and finish, and then they enter university, they enter high school um, at maybe just when they are turning 16. But then I was 17, almost turning 18, and I was still in that junior high school.
Okay.
And it was all because I wasn't good. And
Mm.
my parents came to the point where they were so fed up. They just wanted me to finish this junior high school. And so they contacted the school and said, could you just let our daughters sit for the entrance exams? And this, I was shocked at that time. The school said, oh no, unfortunately, we cannot add her to write the exams because she is going to bring down our score
Oh,
with her poor academic performance. It was really sad for me when my parents informed me what the school has said. But then the school went another step and said, well, if you feel she's outgrowing the stage she is, then I advise you take her to a nearby village and speak to a public school. This was a private school. So speak to a public school and see if they would want to register her for the exams. And in Ghana, public schools are known not to be doing so well. And so basically, they are telling you that that's where she belongs to. So take her. And that's the route my parents took, and spoke to some a headmaster. May he so rest in peace. And he accepted me as part
Mm.
of their candidate to write for the exams. However, I still studied in my school, my original school, until the week of the exams when I had to change uniform, followed some people I haven't never met before, sitting
Yeah.
in a room, looking at exams questions that I can tell you I wasn't able to read about 80% of what was on the paper.
Mm.
And that's how I managed to go through the 1 week of exams and write. And it came out after a few months, is it 3, 4 months? And oh boy, yes, true to my school's worst, the result was just flying around. I had
Oh,
performed so poorly. And so it's a bit long story, but just to cut the story short, when that happened, it was almost like that was the end of the journey for me when it comes to education. And
mm.
so the question now is, what are you going to be doing? Now you have failed, you are not good with reading, you can't write. So what do we do? Should we just let you to go and learn a trade? So
Mm.
maybe a hands-on trade like hairstyling or fashion or something. And I immediately was like, no, because those were not my interests.
Yeah.
So now it's hard for me to even style my own hair. How much more I'm going to do, somebody says. So I said no to that. And it's also not like today. In Ghana, it has a very weird way of how they saw some of these vocational skills. And
Mm.
so at that time, it's like when they ask you to go and learn hairstyling, it's like, oh my God, there's nothing like hairstyling, fashion. It's like there's nothing good of you, and that's the only route you can take. But today, if you come and see how the hairstyling, the beauty industry is boosted, and even the fashion industry is boosted here in
Yeah.
Ghana, I'm like nobody saw that coming, and so people will make
Mm.
fun of you. But then I had a friend who I used to entertain them a lot at home when my aunts would travel. And he was the one who was like, you know what? I have heard all that is going on. How about you tell them to take you to a catering school? That means a
Oh.
culinary school. And I said, oh, why do you say that? And he said, oh, because you love to cook. You always try to cook
Mm.
for us. And we feel like you lighten up when you cook. Nobody can beat you in that space. And so why don't you tell your parents to take you to a culinary school? Again, in Ghana, when you are enrolled into a vocational school to learn something like culinary, it again brings back the same sentiment as, oh, this person is blockheaded, and that's why they end up going to a catering school, a vocational school to learn catering.
It's
But
not that you have they don't ever think you have a passion for it. It's like it was a
exactly,
second chance type of situation.
exactly.
Can I
And
just back up a little bit? When you said that you were struggling with reading, so you really weren't reading or writing until 17?
yeah, I would make mistakes. So, for example, I remember in Ghana there is something called ditation, and it was a morning exercise.
Mm.
Ditation is a mental. Ditation was related to English
Mm.
or any reading subjects, and then mental was mathematics. And so
Okay.
it was almost a morning exercise for every teacher when they come. They would, so if I have English today, they would let all students stand and he'll go around and say that, hey, maybe spell me the word neurodiversity.
Mm.
And when you get it wrong, you receive a cane. And
Ah.
I would never be able to spell any word. And so if he has 5 words for the day, that means I'm going to receive all the canes for that. And the same happened to mathematics as well. Then the
Okay.
other aspect was also on reading. So you need to read a paragraph, and another person will read a paragraph. And so it was so funny. I had one friend, and we would then move to the back, and she would we would count the head of everybody to
So
see
you
which
could see.
paragraph,
I did the same.
which paragraph I was going to be reading. And she would try to mention the words to me, thinking that I would be able to read when it gets to my turn. Just
Yeah.
the anxiety by the time it gets to my turn. Joy, it's like you never said anything to me.
Oh, I can completely relate to that. And I would do the same things. And when I was a teacher, I would see students doing the same thing. I stopped that type of reading when I was teaching because it is, even for students who can read well, it's a lot of them, it's very anxiety inducing, and it's really not helping them learn how to read better. And so I stopped doing that. I guess what stands out for me with that, growing up in Ghana, you had a lot of pressure in school. There was a lot of expectations and a lot of things tied to testing, which is disastrous for a lot of dyslexic students. I
Absolutely.
test very poorly as well. I do not test well. Um, did you feel like you had the same, that your parents had these same expectations? Like, what were some of the messages that you received when it came to learning or intelligence from like your family and from teachers?
So the thing about us setting in Ghana and in a lot of African countries, I mean, based on
Mm.
my travel experiences, I can tell you that our parents focus so much, or society focus so much, of somebody being good by their ability to how well they read, the ability to how well they pass on the test scores, and the
Yeah.
academic performance is up there. That is when you have a good child. That is how, when
Yeah.
you have a great child, that, oh, this child has potentials. My child is got to, she was first, she was second, she was third, or she was in the first five. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That is a great achievement. And so, if you're a child and you don't fall into these brackets, I am sorry for you. That means you're not good at anything. It's automatic. Nobody will look at you and be like, Joy, I see you struggling, but I also know that you're very good at this. And we're going
Yeah.
to get you through. There was nothing like that. In
So
fact,
all this time that you were struggling and not reading well, and the teachers must have known that you were struggling to read and write.
oh,
There was nothing that was done to try to
no,
intervene?
to them, I was the disruptive. So you have to look at it this way.
Mm,
You're not doing well, and the image they have of you is you are a disruptive student, you are a lazy student,
yeah.
and the funny thing is, I almost felt like I had a two personality. So the
Mm,
personality is when it's not relating to academics and reading coming in and anything spelling coming in, my mouth can talk. So
yeah.
let's say we go out to play. You find all my energy coming out. Let's
Mm,
say they put up excursion. Let's go to the museum, or let's go to XYZ place to see. And it's like I'm the champion on the center, and my mouth is big, 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 big. And so they are like, why is it that you cannot translate that into learning? But
yeah.
the question there was, they should have paused and be like, why is this girl full of good energy
Yes.
comes to extracurricular activity that does not involve academics? But when she
Mm.
gets to the classroom, she's so like muted, sad, and and all that. Why is it they did not compare the two?
Yeah, nervous. I would get nervous. I would feel sick all the time. My stomach was hurting. I'd have headaches. and just so much anxiety.
I will
So
go out many times in the excuse of going to pee.
me too. I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. Yes, all of that. So what was the hardest part of schooling then? Because I can imagine I I know how hard it was for me, and we didn't have like that added stress of testing. Like, and I went to public schools, so you just went to the school that you went to, but the schools were really good. And so but I didn't have to test to get into them. I had to test, to get into university, and that's a whole nother situation. Like my testing was horrible. But what was that? What was the hardest part of that?
The shame.
Yes.
The shame, yeah. And the shame was from both home and school.
Mm,
Because you're sitting in a classroom with performance that are being celebrated.
yeah.
And when you get something wrong, it's not private. It was to everybody. All your peers were seeing that you are last in the just
Yeah.
test exams they did. And you take it back home to your parents, and they are also so disappointed. Like, what is this? Why aren't you learning? What is wrong with you? And then the comparison will start where, oh, my friend nearby, next door, the daughter was second, was third.
Mm,
Why is it that you're not trying enough?
yeah.
So you can just imagine.
Oh, I don't even have to imagine. I lived it. And the thing is with that shame is that people are not seeing how hard you are actually trying. So you have that shame on top of I am exhausting myself. I am trying so hard and I'm still not doing well. So I'm already kind of ashamed of myself. And then other people are placing that shame on me as well. It's
It's
horrible.
a
It's a horrible
journey.
feeling.
And I would bring this in when I was at the age of 14. I actually ran away from home.
Mm,
Um, I was so tired and fed up. And at that point, as a child, and that's why I'm scared of children, because children, our mind operates widely than our parents expect.
yes.
I was like, I'm not happy. I don't belong here. I
Mm,
just want to run away and go somewhere and hide. At a point, I was like, maybe just go deep, deep in around some ocean, go and create my own village,
mm.
stay there, grow there, and just die. I was thinking all this at
Oh,
that age.
Rosalind.
I was thinking
Yeah.
like that because I was tired. And at a point, I just took money from my aunts. It was my first stealing. I wouldn't even say that a stealing. I didn't
It was
steal.
survival. It was survival.
Because
Oh,
what I
bless.
did was I actually wrote it, but unfortunately for them, they did because I couldn't spell. They couldn't read what I was telling them. But the message I
Oh,
was telling them was that I am so tired with everything concerning my education and saying that I'm not good and comparing and all that. I've taken XYZ amount of money from you and I'm gone forever. Nobody should search for me. Unfortunately, because my spelling was not up to rate, nobody could read because it was full of
oh,
errors. So they couldn't read what I was trying to tell them. And I put the notes down, took the money, and left home. And I
wow.
went away from, let's say, about 2 hours away from the town we were in and came to the capital city of Accra. And today, when I remember, I'm like, I was so smart then because this place I went to I went there only once, like 3 years back. So this would be when I was like 11 with my uncle. It was the girlfriend's house. He took me like 3 years back. But when I took the money, I boarded a car, came back to the capital city, find my way to that house.
Wow.
So how did I remember the location?
Mm.
In multiple vehicles to get there and find the house. So that is a smart child when you think
Yes.
about it. So I go to this house, and unfortunately for them, but fortunately for me, my uncle's girlfriend had gone to Germany. And it was just the
Oh.
nieces and nephews who were very young, like 20 something, 20, very young guys in university. So they
Mm.
were there, and because they had seen me before, these guys also accepted me to stay in the house without a question asked, does your parents know that you were here or anything? So I also stayed. And I stayed there, and my plan initially was to never ever go back home and go
Mm.
back to school. And so that was my agenda for when I left home. But after 2 weeks, just the curious mind of the neurodiverse child, I wanted to find out what was happening back home.
Yeah.
So I took money, went to a payphone. In Ghana, they had people who would put a table in front of a house and make calls and take
Mm.
new money. So I had a number of a teacher, and I was like, let me, he was a little kind to me when I was in school. So I was like, let me just find out what is happening. Are they looking for me? And so I
Yeah.
called him. And when I called him and he heard my voice, immediately he's like, hey, he used my middle name. Hey, Abigail, where are you? Yes, everybody is searching for you. The police is
Mm.
searching for you. Your parents are worried. Where are you? The moment he said that, I hung up and left. But what he did, he immediately called back the number and
Mm.
asked the lady, could you please trace the girl who just hung up? And then the girl was like, oh, don't worry, sir. She's living in the house, just at the house that I in. So I'm operating in front of the house that she's staying. She came here about 2 weeks ago. And so, to the help of that lady who was the payphone attendant, gave
Mm.
them a location of where I was. And
Okay.
then the next morning, the teacher, my mom, my uncle came to the house to beg me to come back home. The joy.
So it made to me you ran away because you were tired, but then also maybe felt understood. So in learning that they were searching for you, that everyone was frantically trying to find you, did that make you feel more confident or that you belonged?
No, 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 no,
Mm.
no, 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 no. I went back to them because they came. If they had not come the next day, I wouldn't have gone back home. I
Really?
I I I didn't care when I heard they are looking for you. No, 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 no. I wasn't. I wasn't. No, no. I wasn't moved at
Because you had
all.
just endured so you
I
had
was
endured so
free.
much.
I wasn't going
Yeah.
to school anymore. Nobody was telling me you're not good. I was just sleeping and playing around and
Yeah.
just trying to think about my next step, what I'm going to do from here, because maybe I cannot stay in this house forever. So
Yeah.
for me, I felt like for the first time, nobody was just was speaking to me anyhow. So I was at peace.
Yes. So
And so
let's go forward a little bit. So how did you get from there to actually moving forward with your on your path to you took a non-traditional path and you went into culinary school. So as a neurodivergent thinker, why was culinary school a lifeline for you and how did you get there?
So after the guy, my friend told me that I could be good in culinary school.
Mm.
Together with him, he helped me to get the forms we filled because I knew at that time if I go back to tell my parents that take me to the culinary school, they might not listen because
Mm.
they might feel like they were going to waste another money because it's still school setting. So what we did together with him, Evans, is we got the form and we filled it, and likely I got admitted into the school. And once I had the admission, I took it to my dad and said, I'm sorry, give me the last chance to go to this school and let's see. So to him, in his mind, okay, I'm going to give her a last chance. I really don't have any expectation of her, which is what he told the proprietress of the school the day we arrived. Told her all about me, like I'm stubborn, I'm this, I'm that, and he doesn't, just telling them so that they are not surprised when I start my things, right?
Yeah.
I think it was fair. He didn't know. And so he begged them to monitor me and allow me to be in the school because he doesn't want me to also go and get pregnant just like that. And so
Mm.
let me
I
be
mean,
in.
how did we jump there? My
No,
goodness.
because
Yeah.
in our society, young girls that really don't, either they are not in school or they don't have anything good going to them, can easily fall into that.
Yeah.
And then the end
Yeah.
result is getting yourself pregnant. And so they don't want me to
Mm.
get pregnant. And that's why they are bringing me to the school to be there for 3 years. And by the
Okay.
time
And was it near your hometown or where was the school?
it was also another 2 hours journey from home, which I
Okay.
loved because I was going to get away from the family and I wouldn't hear about all these, you're not good, anything. And so we went, and that's how I was received. So for me as a child, it was like the very moment the staff of the school kind of know of me, my profile. Hey, we have a stubborn girl here. We really need to have our eye on her and all that.
Mm.
And then, they say your ways are not God's ways. We started the lessons first week, second week, third week. I started enjoying. I'm like, oh, why? This looks different,
Yeah.
And we started practicals, starting to cook. And, I love cooking. It's my environment. Cooking is my environment. So I started loving school and I started enjoying. I remember the first 6 weeks Red Cross came over and they were like, oh, we're looking for champions to do peer educating. We will train them to go and speak on, like, to do awareness on sexual orientations to their peers and all that. And I'm like, I signed up,
Yeah.
getting myself involved in so many things. And by the time we finished that term or semester, I've forgotten, my dad came and to pick me up and they called him to the office. And the proprietress, Madam Edna Meteme, she said, I'd like to speak with you about your child. And he was like, his first instinct, I hope she hasn't caused trouble.
Oh no.
And then they said, no. Actually, we have a positive remarks about her. Is it the same child you said you don't have any expectation of? And say, yeah, what's up?
Mm.
They say, your daughter is good. We think this school will be very good for her. Look at her results. It came out and she's picking up. She's doing so well. When it comes to practical, she's very good. When it comes to her reading abilities, she's picking up and everything. And so we think your child is good. And mind you, Joy, in my entire schooling, this
Yes.
was the first time an educator was giving a positive feedback to
Oh,
my
I love
child.
I mean, I love that. And I think that it's really a it's a testimony that education doesn't always look the same for everybody. And
Exactly.
taking a different path is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to neurodivergent minds. So I guess when you look at back at that time, what strengths did you discover in yourself through your vocational education?
Oh my. So with those words that she said on our way home, I kept saying, I'm good.
You're good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And so I made a mental note without my, because this, I think a lot without people knowing what is in my coconut head. So in my
Mm,
mind, I said to myself, from this moment onwards, I am good anywhere I go, any environment I go, people will say that I am good. And when I touch anything, I'm going to do it the best of the best. And
mm,
they say what you think, your thoughts, the universe receives it. But with God help, that followed me throughout. I came back to the next term and I just kept growing, growing in my
yeah.
element. My skill sets, I realized I'm a people person. I just love people. I love impactful work. I became the class president when we went to the second year, and I was the class
Mm,
president throughout when we vacated. Any school activities, I was in the center. Now
yeah.
I became either the first or the second from all our classes, all our tests, practicals or reading, a writing. I was still struggling, but then I still found my way to kind of, it was like a miracle. Things were just picking up. And now I understand it. Now knowing about dyslexia, I now understand the effective impact of the multi-sensory learning approach, which is I
Yes.
learn through visual and kinesthetic learner as well. So practical.
Mm.
So things were just working for me so much. And I developed
And it
that.
was something that you enjoyed. And I guess, oh,
I
Rosalind,
enjoy
I
it.
guess we didn't, I guess we haven't even said this whole podcast is about dyslexia awareness, and we haven't even said, I mean, I'm sure that people have figured it out, but we haven't said that were
I'm dyslexic.
you're dyslexic and did not find out that you were dyslexic until you were 30 years old. So even at this point in the story,
We
you have
didn't
found
know.
success. You didn't know.
No.
And when you and I were first connected, I was so excited to talk to you because I know the struggles that I had being diagnosed with dyslexia at 12. I couldn't fathom being diagnosed at 30.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we'll talk about how that changed you, but I love that through your vocational schooling, you found your people, you found your type of learning, and I'm sure that it really grew your well, I can tell by your story that it grew your confidence in so many
Oh, I had
ways.
a blast in that school. I was all over, took up so many leadership roles, volunteering. That was my first experience volunteering with Red Cross. It gave me so much opportunity because it wasn't just we educating our peers in our school. We go to other schools as well to speak to people, and it grew my confidence, and that kind of built up to the humanitarian mindset of even the organization I am leading
Mm.
to today. So throughout all these scenes, there was no subject or nobody could connect it to me being dyslexic or the potential of me having any learning difficulties.
So
Um,
how did you make that connection?
so this was fast forward. I finished the school, came started working in hotels, and I did go to university, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
and you went on to get your master's.
yes, yes,
Yes, okay.
yes, yes. So after I came, worked in the hospitality industry for a while in Ghana. There's one pathway I'm grateful they had, which is called a mature student approach.
Okay.
So the mature student approach is when you're at a certain level. I think it starts from 25-ish. You can you can study and sit for an exams called mature student entrance exams to university or college. And
Okay.
and I did that exams, and but what I something happened when I was back in school. I did an internship in a hotel, and the first internship I did, I was in the kitchen, all right, because that's my field. But then this HR saw something in me and asked me to go to all the departments in that hotel to also have a flair of what they do there. And everywhere I went, she was receiving positive feedback and how I bring everybody together and the harmony and everything. And so when I was going back to school for my third year, she called me and said, Rose, I think I know you didn't go to high school, and so maybe you don't have the vision for university. But if ever you decide to go to a university, you can write a mature student entrance exams. And you know what I
Ah.
think you might be very good at doing at the university is to study hospitality management. I know you're training yourself to become a chef, but I also see you in hospitality management where you will grow and even become a GM and become a consultant in the
Mm.
industry. She gave me a small book which kind of give an overview of what hospitality industry is about. And so I took that book back, and when I was on vacation, this friend who helped me to go into the vocational school, he together read the book and kind of really broke down for the information for me and said, yeah, this is a pathway you can actually take. So I registered that in my mind,
Mm.
looking at the vocational school, that I would one day go to university. And so when I came back to work and I was at that age, I started studying my way up, studying for the exams, and I sat for the exams and I passed. And
Mm.
when I passed, I went to the universities to study hospitality management. I did so well in that, and then came back to the industry, worked a little bit, packed my stuff for hospitality management masters. And so it was
Okay.
during the master's level that a lecturer asked if I'm dyslexic. But before that, somebody
Oh.
had said that to me a year before. It was a friend, because what also happened was that even in the hospitality industry, I would always go to communities to share my
Mm.
story to young people of how I struggled in life to get where I am. Because at this point, I was so successful in my career. So I
Yeah.
would just use that. If I, with this history, have been able to make it, then you who have the opportunity, your parents are supporting you, have no reason to fail. So she kept hearing me saying that. And one time I finished speaking and she's like, you, this girl, I think you are dyslexic. And then I was
Mm.
like, oh, what is that? She said, oh, dyslexia. But what she didn't do was she just left it there like that. She didn't explain it.
Okay.
And when I heard Joy, and I was on my way home, I was like, this woman, this lady. So she think I have something called dyslexia. Is it an illness or what is that? Why?
Yeah.
So in my mind, I did not bother to find out what dyslexia is, because to me, I have had so much struggle in life. And at this point, how my life is going, I don't want to go and pick any disease name that is what I have.
Yes. Don't put anything else. Don't put any other labels on me. I don't need anything else.
I don't want it. And so I never researched dyslexia. And then
Yeah.
in my master's level, this lecturer also came and like, so when he said, are you dyslexic? And I said, wait a minute, this is like the second time I'm hearing, what is this? And so he sat me down and said, Rosa, could you go back in memory and tell me when you were in school, just as I have done with you here, what
Mm.
happened in your like before high school and all that? What happened uh, with academics when it comes to academics? So I started narrating my challenges to him, and he said, you, this girl, I definitely think you are dyslexic. It's not an.
Mm.
So I asked him, is it some form of a sickness? He said, no,
Yeah.
it's A, B, C, D. But I cannot do a better job than directing you to go and read on the website of the International Dyslexia Association. So
Okay.
I went, took my time, read everything, and I saw that, so which website knows me so much like this? Um, it's as if somebody has given them my information and
Yeah.
they have a screener on it. And I took everything and I'm like, they're asking questions that nobody asked me before, but it's me in the picture. So I went
Mhm.
back to this man and I said, "Yeah, I did the screen, and yes, everything is me. The website knows me so much, as if somebody had told them about my story." He laughed so much and said, "You know what? I think you are dyslexic, but to make it easier for you, go and have a proper assessment done from somebody who is qualified and certified in that area and get it done." And that's how, at this point, at that age, I got my diagnosis for dyslexia.
And I mean, I can see I know for me, the relief that it was when someone finally said, "Okay, this is the reason why all these things are happening." I can only imagine, and I can kind of see the relief in your face now, even telling the story. Like, finally, someone knows what I'm dealing with and has put a name to it. And I think for a lot of people, finding these things out might be difficult. But for I cannot tell you, every dyslexic person, every person that I've met with late diagnosed ADHD or autism, everyone has the same thing. They all say it was such a relief to know that someone finally saw it and was able to tell me what it was. And then I was able to then figure out how I was going to move forward with that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how did things change for you at the age of 30 when you found out that you had dyslexia?
Hmm. It was so for me. I was like, oh, finally, I have something to point to. So, and then from my readings, I started reading a lot, and I realized that it has nothing to do with being lazy. And now I
Mm-mm.
remembered, and I was like, actually, I was always trying hard to learn. I was putting in effort, and no lazy person would do that. So it's kind of
Oh,
matching my own experiences with what I was seeing on the internet. But
yeah.
one thing that struck to me is from the IDA website, I started Googling and I was seeing a lot of information from Europe, from UK. And I was like, okay, where is the information on Africa? I
Yeah.
wasn't seeing much. And I saw all these people, and I'm not saying every dyslexic person or a neurodivergent person is going to be famous. But I was
Yeah.
seeing all these famous people that some of them you watch them on screen like Whoopi Goldberg and all that. And I'm like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of colors. I'm seeing like a lot
Yeah.
of Caucasians.
Mm.
I'm seeing few black people like Whoopi Goldberg, Octavia Spencer, and all that. But there were not enough number for me.
Is Octavia
So
Spencer dyslexic?
yeah.
Oh, I love Octavia Spencer. For me, it was Malcolm Jamal Warner, and I mean, bless his soul, may he rest in peace. But for me, it was Malcolm Jamal Warner on the Cosby Show, and
Yeah.
Theo found out that he was dyslexic, and then I found out that Malcolm Jamal Warner was actually dyslexic. But you're right, I didn't see a lot of people that look like me.
Yeah, so I didn't see a lot. And then when I saw even the people that looked like me, I was like, okay, they are blacks, but they are not Africans.
Mm.
So where are the Africans? So in my head, asking that question, I was then it point back to me, remembering at a point in time in school, we had the A class, the B class, and the C class. So the A is the excellent student, very good,
Mm.
very everything there. And then the B is the very good student. And then we in the C, which we were quite many, were always like the ones that weren't good in academics. But I went
Mm.
back again looking at, okay, how many of us in the C's have made it to at least continue and didn't give up. I
Yeah.
found only few of us who still pushed through.
Really?
And one that struck me was one of my mates that was so good in athletics. And I always say that Ghana lost an Olympian.
Mm.
This girl, after junior high school, said, I cannot do it anymore. I don't have the support. She dropped out, and today she has like 6 children. She's living in a
Mm.
village. But, Joy, if I tell you this lady is good in sports,
Yeah.
running, volleyball, tennis, name it, she is good. That if she
Mm.
could have gotten the support, she would have been probably a world champion by now. And then there are
Wow.
many other people that were equally good with different sets of skills that all fell out to the drain. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so in Africa, the question is when you're not good with academics, then all hopes are lost. And therefore, we will not have people who are dyslexics in Africa coming up to the
Yeah.
extent where they will be profiled for the internet to pick up and say that this is a successful dyslexic. And
Mm.
even those that are also dyslexics that made it are also masking their challenges. They're hiding
Yes.
because they don't know what the issue is, which I was doing in all this back then when at the workplace I am hiding. You go into a meeting and people be like, oh, Rosalin, can you take the minutes? And I'm in my mind, I'm like, these people. But then I will pretend that I'm
That I
taking
can. Yep.
the minutes and then I will secretly record the conversation and then go home and struggle to find someone or myself to transcribe and make a minute for them. Why would I go through such a hassle to do something if the awareness is there and people own it? So putting all the pieces together, I realized there isn't enough happening when it comes to dyslexia and the entire learning difference or learning disability related issues in Africa. And that led me to set up the Africa Dyslexia Organization to do exactly what, or even better than what the International Dyslexia Association is doing in future for Africa. And that's why we set up the organization.
And this is going to be a good segue into the work that you're doing with the Africa Dyslexia Organization. Rosalin, one, your story is amazing. I didn't even know um, half of the things that you're going to say today, and it just makes me admire you so much more. But you have gone on to build something just so phenomenal. And so, for our listeners who may not know, can you tell us about the Africa Dyslexia Organization, what it is, and what you do with the organization, and how did all this come about?
Well, as I said before, I think we had a short break was when I was looking on all the information out there and the support that people are getting elsewhere, like America,
Yeah.
UK, Europe, Australia, and all that, I questioned myself, where are the informations on the continent?
Yeah.
And I realized very little is happening. And so,
Mm.
right from the get go, I had it in my mind that I would one day use my voice to bring awareness because this, but then I didn't have the time to do
Yeah.
it because at this time I'm done with my master's, my career has picked off, I've gotten an offer from Disney, I'm in the US working, and
Mm.
so but then I had that quest I want to do. So in 2019, I did an article called What Every Parent Needs to Know About Dyslexia. I wish I had sent it to you ahead of time. And that article, I got people to publish it in Ghana. Oh my goodness.
Mm. I'll link it into the show notes so that people can
Yes.
read it.
Joy, I was getting emails. I added my emails that, hey, if your child is going through this and you want to contact me, I can speak with you. If you're a teacher and you want to know more, I can speak with you. And I was getting emails pouring in, pouring in, pouring in. But then I was still in the US and busy. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I came back home and said, I'm going to rest over here because, hey, hospitality industry was one of the most affected industry. So I was
Mm,
like, let me just sit at home. What would I do? And I was like, you know what? This project I said to myself I would do, let me start. And so I contacted few friends in media. And at that time during the pandemic, you can just comfortably stay in your home like we're doing here. And they would
yeah.
just project you onto the TV screen and just sharing my story as I have shared with you. And
Mm,
anytime I would do either a radio or TV, my phone will be buzzing. My phone will be buzzing. And I said to myself, oh, just awareness. Yeah, we're here doing awareness. And so after the pandemic, I'm going to go back to work. Joy, I couldn't after the pandemic.
really?
Number of inquiries, the number of stories I have gone within with parents and some teachers made me realize there is a huge problem that needs solution. And so we started
Absolutely.
the Africa Dyslexia Organization. And our first goal was that we were just going to do awareness for people to know. And now the awareness started turning into people asking, okay, now you talk about it, we are aware. I can see it in my child. But how do I support my child? Which school can I
Yeah.
take my child to? What is the resources? And I was like, oh my God, Rosalin, you are in for a ride. What do we do now? You are not an expert of dyslexia, you just have a story, and now people want solutions.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, we're going to do training, but I'm not the one to train. Thank God for technology and the internet. I started connecting with people left, right, center who are experts in the field of learning differences. And I'll chat them and
Uh-huh.
be like, hey, I'm starting an organization in Ghana, located in Africa. I don't have money to pay you, but I need training. But I need training for my people. And
Yeah.
people just that I got so many people who offered their time. Sometimes the training are 3 months, sometimes 1 week, and people just gave me their time and their resources and poured into people. And again, it was pandemic year, and so people had time, educators had
Yeah.
time to sit on the internet and learn. And from that, our numbers started skyrocketing. So we came up with this foundational training on dyslexia and related learning. We started from learning disability overview and then segue to dyslexia. So by the time you finish taking that course, you know what learning disabilities are, not just dyslexia. You know how to screen if you're an educator or even a parent. You know some form of interventions you can start putting in place because some of these people were from Orton Gillingham background. We got connected to organization like Nessie who gave us some free trainings, and within few years today, we have trained over 6,000. I think when I checked on Friday, 6,236 teachers have
That's
taken
amazing. Well,
that.
and what's so amazing about that is that worldwide, and it was even hard. I don't even know if this statistic is even accurate because it's so hard to find statistics on training. But from from statistics that I found worldwide, one in 1 in 7 teachers, I believe, have received any type of formal education when it comes to neurodivergence. One
Yeah.
in 7.
Yeah.
But we know that 1 in 5 students are dyslexic.
So why?
Yeah, and so I'm like, why is the greater question. Why are we not?
Everybody needs to know.
Yes.
Everybody needs every educator. And I tell people, we are not trying to turn you to be a dyslexia specialist because,
No.
in as much as we are saying, Joy, it also takes a lot of effort and a passionate teacher who has the right intention to be able to teach somebody like you and me. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work for them to do. But then when it comes to the foundational training as to what learning differences are, to know
Yeah.
dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, and all the learning differences, ADHD, you as an educator needs to know them. Every educator. And then you also need to know the signs and symptoms so that when we get to the point where we have those passionate teachers that we train them to become specialists, and you go to the class, you don't go and spoil their work. Because when they are supporting a child and you have your science subjects and you get into the classroom and you meet
Yeah.
Joy in the classroom, I don't want you to go and say things to Joy that Joy, you are not capable. I want you to empower my student for me. And that's why I believe when it comes to a foundational understanding of this, every
Yeah.
teacher needs to be trained, regardless of what subject you teach.
Absolutely. And just to be able to see, well, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Rosalyn, that you do so much to mask what you're struggling with. And neurodivergent students, children, are masters at masking when we are struggling.
Yeah.
And so even if we just start there with teachers. So here are some of the things, and as we know, you've met one neurodivergent learner, you've met one neurodivergent learner. We all manifest in so many different ways. But if we go and we say, this is what you might see. These might be some of the ways that this might manifest. These are some indications, at least if they have that baseline that allows them to know what to look for, or allows parents to know what to look for. And even if we're still saying it might not be what is happening to your child, but at least if you're aware, then we have a better opportunity for students to be noticed earlier and to be able to get the
Exactly.
help and support they
And
need.
it changes the
Absolutely.
culture of a school or an
Yes.
institution because then everybody is thoughtful of what gets out of your mouth. Because I will say a lot of the things that damaged me as a person and even as an adult, I'm still repairing my confidence level.
Oh, yeah.
How the words that were said to me by an educator or by a
Yes.
family member. And so
By
having
teachers who were supposed to teach you. I have so much trauma from teachers who were supposed to teach me. I developed all these limiting beliefs because of things that were said to me, and
exactly.
often said, by family members and parents, not in a way that was malicious, but it was still said. And that stuff stays with you.
Yeah, I will just, it's not related to this, but I'll give you one feedback that came from the conference. And this is an educator. And I have the audio which I can share with you. And she said, Rosa, if I hadn't come to the conference that just ended,
Yeah.
my child probably would have been dead by now and I would have been in prison. And I
Oh.
said, why are you saying that? So she's a teacher, but she has a son who shows all the signs that she has just come to learn about dyslexia
Mm.
that the son has. But she never knew. And her son just sat for the same exams that I was asked to go to the village to do. And he failed. And she came to the conference just a week before they received the results. And she said,
Oh.
Rosa, I tell you, if I didn't come to the conference and I saw these results coming, I would have beaten the hell out of this child, which I have always been doing. But this one would have been the master one, and I would have been in
Yeah.
prison by now.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, so what are you doing? She said, the saddest part of it is after coming to learn at the conference, trying to form a relationship with the boy and saying, I am sorry, my son. I now understand your challenge and we're going to work it through. The child does not trust the mother anymore. So all
Yeah.
the I am sorry she's saying, the boy thinks the mom is faking it. And so the
Mm.
boy
Because
doesn't
the
want
trust
to
is not there.
receive the support. But for me, sitting here, what I hear from that is there is a trauma there. This boy has
Oh,
harbored trauma, has harbored
yes.
bitterness, has harbored fears. And now, even when the mother is being genuine, he doesn't feel it. And you
Yeah.
can imagine the damage that is. And a lot of children are going through that.
In I've heard so many stories of as you said, students being beaten because they didn't perform, students being punished for their grades or lack thereof, and being punished in school. I was constantly on punishment in school. My name was
Yeah.
always on the board for in school, but for something that is not their fault. But let me just go back just a bit. Initially, you created the Africa Dyslexia Organization because you wanted to raise awareness.
Yeah.
And now that has grown into training, advocacy, working with ministries of education, working with parents. But what gap did you see that no one else was filling, that you were saying we need to do something? What was that one gap that you noticed?
The gap is the lack of awareness, one, and so priority is not given to that when it comes to any form of teacher capacity development, either from
Mm.
pre service and end
Yeah.
into in service. There was
Mm.
nothing happening. And so we really wanted to fill that gap. Another
Yeah.
thing also is picking up the inclusive education policy of my country, Ghana, and reading these beautiful documents. And inclusion to them is let's give inclusion or let's be inclusive for people with physical challenges like blindness, deafness, wheelchair bound,
Mm.
blah blah blah. Nothing on learning differences. So if I'm a child with ADHD, zero, I will be labeled as disruptive. If I'm a child with dyslexic, lazy, you're not doing
Yeah.
enough. And I saw that gap, but then we raised the concern to the ministry. I started using my story to them and they turned out of me and all that. And I said, listen, you have like one in five in the classrooms. But let me ask you a question. So this is how I started asking questions. Do you
Mm.
go to every class and see a child sitting in wheelchair? They said no. Do you go to a class and you see a child probably who is visually impaired? They said no. Do you go to
No.
a child and find someone with deafness in every classroom? They said no. And I said, but then do you go to a classroom? And this that I'm saying, I'm not equating that every child who is not doing well in the classroom is likely is dyslexic, but then there is a potential.
Yeah.
Do you find those children in the class? They say yes. And I said,
Uh-huh.
there are ways to teach all these children
Yes.
type of learners they are, their profiles, how they need to be taught so they can
Yeah.
absorb whatever you're giving to them. We are not teaching properly, and the number is huge. And then I started
Yes.
pulling all these amazing people who are doing great things, who are dyslexics in the world. And I said, look at these names. They are all like those students that are in the classroom. But the difference between them is they were given opportunity. Somebody listened to them and look at them today. But in Africa, we are wasting resources. We're wasting potentials. We're not recognizing them. They are ending up in prisons. They are ending up on the streets. And then there was a good research that came out from the US where a lot of black people in prison have a learning challenge. And I said, look at it again. Look at this research again. And even though it's
Yeah.
US, it's because the black community in the US are not doing what they are supposed to do. But at least they are doing a little better than us. For us, it's not
Mm,
at all. So we need to create the change. So that's how we
yeah.
engage the ministries of education and advocates for policy change and all that. And then we assembled other policies from their continent. And it looked
Yeah.
the same as Ghana. And so that's where we started being like, we want to work with teachers, we want to work with policymakers. We also need research. So we added a research component to what we do. And we like, okay, now with all these things, we can't just leave and cater on the education side. We need to look at the students. Because of the trauma they are harboring, the shame and everything, we need to come up with a mentorship program for the dyslexic student we meet, or even a child who is simply not doing well in school. They have not
Mm,
been diagnosed, but we can still have them in our empowerment mentorship program. So we added that. And then we're like, okay, we need somebody who will advocate from this angle to meet the school. And who is that person? The parents. So we need a
yes.
parents program where parents can learn about their children potential issues and be their own advocates to meet up with the school. So we also have a parent cycle program that we do. And so our work became like a 360 work. And now we just introduce our inclusion at the workplace consultancy program as well, where we are helping organizations to be more inclusive and understand people like me and you. And so that's kind of how now the organization has evolved from I'm going to raise an awareness to now manage a whole
And all this in 5 years.
5 years.
So if you were to look, I mean, and it's just the momentum that you've been able to grow in those 5 years since you started ADO is insane. But if you were to look back at all of your accomplishments, what impact makes you the proudest so far?
Oh, the one that makes me so happy is when the parents start loving their kids and be
Yeah.
so supportive and stop beating them and now helping them to like I'm talking to you, I'm having goosebumps. Like
Yeah.
helping them, like I one of our students, Abrina. Oh, the girl is so good. She's so very artistic. She's a painter. She does her own clothing. She loved robotics, and all these hidden talents were missing just because the
Mm,
parent thought she wasn't good. She plays the piano. She plays at our last Dyslexia Education Stakeholders Forum. Nana, for example, whose father is a pastor and they were beating him, and today it's like there's harmony. Like the stories are endless, you know. That
yes.
is for
You know
me.
what we need? Do you know what we need to do? We'll talk about this later, but we need to bring stories of dyslexic and neurodivergent minds like someplace. I don't know what we need to do, but you and I need to think about a way to celebrate that. Okay, so can we zoom out a little bit?
Yes.
Because I know that in this work that you've been doing, you don't only do this work in Ghana, and your organization is the Africa Dyslexia Organization, and you do work across the continent. So, what does recognition of dyslexia look like across Africa today, in your opinion?
So I believe that when people don't know something, you cannot judge them that why you don't know. I
Mm,
have always said that I forgive you for not knowing, but the
yeah,
moment I tell you what it is and you go back to your old habits,
yeah.
then I
No
don't
excuse.
forgive you.
No
And so,
excuse.
because of that, in Africa, a child who is generally not good with academics, no matter what you do, that child is written off as not good. So that is like
Mm,
the mindset. Okay. Every parent want their child to be a doctor, a lawyer, an
an
engineer,
engineer.
and all that and all that.
If you go to if you go to school in the States, you go to Harvard. Or like
Exactly.
I hear it again and again and again and again
Okay,
from
so I think
African
it's a
parents.
black thing,
Yeah.
maybe not an African thing. I think it's a black
Oh
thing.
no,
Yeah.
it's both. It's both. But one thing I definitely hear. So I went to a historically black college in the States. I went to Hampton University, my home by the sea, and we had a lot of students from Africa, specifically from West Africa. And there was this thing, I need to have the best grades. I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to be an architect. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And grades were everything. And even when I do, I'm an educational consultant, I do work around the world. And I've spoken to so many parents, and I really do advocate for going to historically black colleges and universities for students. And when I'm in Africa, everyone's like, oh, well, we want them to go to Harvard. And I'm like, but there's so many other options. Not that I'm
Exactly.
saying that Harvard is not a good school, but
Yeah.
there's so many
It's just
options.
the traditional mindset is
Yeah.
so archaic, and so it boils back again. Is people are not aware. I remember going to a catering school, and people think like my life will just be either a waitress or be a cook. That's all the mindset. So what I'm trying to drive at with the question you ask as to the acceptance is that we realized for us to let people accept, we need to put the message out there, which is awareness and advocacy. And we, again, knowing very well how the foundation of ADO started, you realize that I didn't see it becoming an organization that it has become today. And so there were so many mistakes I did, especially when it comes to resource mobilizations and stuff. We don't have funding. And so
Yeah.
most of the things that we have done are from friends and family and myself. And now is the time that we're structuring things to work. And so what happened was we wanted to be in other African countries. And I sat down one day with my team and I said, it would take us forever to be in other African countries because we don't have the
Mm.
resources.
Yeah.
But the idea I have, and you guys should tell me that is good or not, I told my team like this, is I think we can multiply voices. We can multiply ourselves on the continent of Africa. And they were like, so how are you going to do that? And I said, we are going to come up with the Africa Dyslexia Advocates Fellowship Program.
Okay.
That program is going to train people between a period of 2 to 3 months. And these advocates can be from all backgrounds. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be a teacher, you can be a farmer.
Mm.
As long as you can read and write and get the information, and you're passionate about education and change, you
Yeah.
would be part. So we decided to come out with this Pan-African fellowship program, which we have
Mm.
done our first cohort, we've done our second cohort, we're just interviewing for our third cohort, and
Amazing.
currently
And 38 countries in Africa and counting?
38 African countries and counting with
That's amazing.
333 advocates.
Really?
Yes. And all
That
of
is
them,
something to be proud of. That
some
is
of
something
them,
to be proud
oh,
of.
it's so beautiful. Some of them go to as far as going to the markets, some go to
Mm.
hospitals, some goes to churches to go and raise awareness, some go into schools. Like it's just so mind blowing and beautiful. And so that is what we have done. But the challenge we saw there, which we are solving next year, we are launching the Africa Dyslexia Teacher Fellowship Program. And
Really? Tell me
yes,
more.
yes, and that is going to be only for educators, classroom
Okay.
educators, because we realize through this fellowship, because we have people from diverse background, and you have teachers also being part. When it comes to the
Mm.
training, what happens is the teachers want to know more, so you need to go in depth.
Yeah.
Let them have strategies that they are able to support the students and all that. And if you go that route, the lawyers in the program is going to get bored because that
Yeah.
strategy of teaching
It's
children to
not it's not what they're yeah.
not their
Mhm.
thing. And so now we're going to separate educators from the main fellowship itself and have educator fellowship programs. So it will be a complete different programs with different focus, and that's what we're going to be launching next year.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, and please, you need to let me help with that. I would love to.
Absolutely.
Would love it. But when you were thinking about, because I definitely come across this a good amount when I'm working, honestly, not just in Africa, but worldwide. There's so stigma is powerful, one. And why do why do you feel like stigma and myths about dyslexia hold so much power? Because there's if there's one thing I am working on, it is dispelling myths about dyslexia. So, short question, why do stigma and myth about dyslexia hold so much power in your opinion?
Because we are too spiritual. We are
Hmm.
spiritual as a continent. And so a child who is not doing well, then the parents immediately think like, oh, maybe is that sister of mine or aunt of mine who is doing my child. And
Yeah.
that's why my child is not able to learn. Are you bewitched? Are you bewitched? What's wrong? And then
Mhm.
they'll take the child, go to church to pray,
Yeah.
thinking that if they go and see that prophet or pastor, their child will automatically start performing academic. So the spiritual
Mm.
aspect of it blind the majority of the population to really look at things in a realistic way.
Yeah.
Again, because our training colleges that are training teachers to become teachers don't also know, and they haven't embedded that as part of the
Yeah.
curriculum to really
Mm.
train teachers, and not just as a brush on course, but train them on learning differences. So before teachers graduate and go into
Yes.
school, everybody have that foundational aspect of information, how they can screen,
Mm.
how they can profile, how can they can do their individualized education plan. But we are not preparing our educators like that. So from the house, the parents are thinking this way, and then the teacher also, because they don't have anything to do, it kind of meets each other, and it becomes like stagnant and be like, yeah, the child is indeed not good. And if they are not good in school, and because education is so important and everybody have to have a first class, my child who is getting a third class has been
Yeah.
bewitched, or the child is lazy, or the child is not learning well, and all that. So this is what kind of the mindset of
Mm.
people bring about all this stigma and myth around learning difference
Yeah.
in Africa.
It just takes me back to the same thing when I think about where change is most urgently needed, just to shift the story of dyslexia in Africa. I feel like it all goes back to where you started with the organization, and it's looking at awareness, and then from there giving more tools. But if you were to say where is the change most urgently needed to shift the story of dyslexia, what would you say?
The mindset shifts,
Mindset.
awareness,
Mhm.
because I will tell you something. When we were doing this conference, and I work closely with the Ministry of Education a lot
Yes.
in the past 5 years, but then we just changed government in February. And so there's the new administration that has come into force. So all the education we did with the previous administration, for them to appreciate the work we're doing, has been erased. So now I had to go back again since February, trying to educate people as to why it is important for them to partner us on the conference. And I tell you, I got to the ministry and it's like people don't know jack what I'm talking about.
Mm. Can we talk about the conference?
Yeah, we will talk about the conference, but I'm just saying to you awareness is important. And unfortunately, the minister was supposed to be there, but few days to the program was when, I don't know if you saw on the news, we had a helicopter crash and we had 8 people from high profile, like ministers, passed away in that. So the minister couldn't be there. However,
Okay.
may their soul rest in peace. The
Mm-hmm.
technical advisor to the minister, who like really advises the minister, came to the program. And guess what? I have met the man 3 times before he came to the program. And I love
Mm.
him so much. When he finished, he called me and said, Rosa, you're doing a great job.
You are.
When you were coming to the ministry and talking about this conference and the work you do and everything, I thought I understood what you were saying. But coming to the conference and hearing Dr. Julie Washington present on language and dialects and how he influences dyslexia and all that, it had made me realize that no, I didn't understand what you were saying. But now
Wow.
I understand, and I assure you, I'm going to be your voice at the Ministry of Education.
Ah,
And just after
amazing.
the program, he called me for a meeting. We sat for more than an hour for him to now finally listen to what our organization is about, what programs we are
Mm.
doing, and even propose a research topic for me to prepare a proposal and bring it so that we'll see if we can do it together with the Ministry of Education. So again, back to why awareness is so important and why I'm hitting
Yeah.
on that. If the
Mm.
awareness is not there, you're not going to get a school director putting money to go and train their teachers.
Yeah.
If the awareness is not there, you're not going to get a Ministry of Education prioritizing like training around this and research around it, and even the budget when it comes to education that will be allocated this. So it is when the awareness and understanding is there, that is when people wake up and start doing something. And so that is my number one key.
And I could not agree more. And you've already done so much in this area, but then you went and basically made history with the Africa Dyslexia Conference. And I know I have told you this a million times, but I am still heartbroken. Heartbroken because I was supposed to join you for the conference this year. I was so looking forward to it, and there were some circumstances that kept me from being able to come. I will not allow that to happen next year. You can count on me to be there. If you will have me, I will be there with bells on. If I had to walk across the continent to get to you, I will. But you have made history with the Africa Dyslexia Conference. And can you tell me about the conference and what was your goal in starting? How long have you been doing the conference?
So it used to be Dyslexia Education Stakeholders Forum.
Okay.
We had it 3 times before this year. And
Okay.
then this year we decided stakeholder forum, it was being attended by Ghanaians and all that. And we're like, you know what? The same energy we use in organizing, why can't we bring the same energy and organize something bigger, which is Africa Dyslexia Conference? So we changed the name and it became like an
Okay.
inaugural one because it's the first time we're calling it Africa Dyslexia Conference. And it's also 2 days
Okay.
program versus a few hours program.
Yeah.
And we specifically chose the title Shifting Minds,
Mhm.
Inspiring Actions, which boils back to what we have been talking about awareness.
Yeah.
To use that conference to shift people's perspective and take bold actions. And
Mm.
so that was our goal. And the second part of it is also to bring together leaders in education and not just teachers, because what we
Yeah.
realize is When teachers attend the program and they go back to the school and they want to create a change, because their leaders don't understand, they do not get the
Mhm.
full support. And so this
Absolutely.
time we were targeting leaders in education. We had 42 speakers. Sorry, you couldn't make
Mhm.
it. We had
I know, but I have been just stalking your social media and looking at the different speakers, and honestly, whether was there or not, what I wanted,
supported.
yeah, I wanted to be able to support, and what I wanted was for, you know, these experts to be able to spread as much awareness as possible, and for people to see dyslexia in a different light, and for people to see that we are brilliant and we contribute so much to the world, but that there are resources and so many things out there to help. And so for you to be able to bring people from the US, from the UK, from across Africa
Yeah.
to one place to have these conversations, whether I was there or not, the mere
So
fact that these conversations
you,
were
you
it happened was
supported it.
so exciting.
It was beautiful. We had
Yeah.
a total for speakers and attendance from 14 countries, and over a period of 2 days, and pouring into people. So we had a panel, for example, we had panel for parents sharing their experiences and what they wish they would have known. We had, oh, my most favorite panel is the youth panel, which dyslexic
Mm,
student mounted the stage and shared from both home and what the school has done to them, and even friendship and all that, to workplace, the dyslexia inclusion at the workplace for neurodiverse, divergent people. And we had a high level education panel, and it was amazing. Like over the period of 2 days, people learned a lot. The testimonies that are coming in is like, my first time hearing this. Oh my goodness, I didn't have like 10% expectation of what I came to see. Like, it's
yeah.
just so much, and it tells you that this is so needed. We had professors from university come. They came with their students from university, and some of these students again level 400 students, so final year students, and they did education, and they are going into the classroom to practice what some of the things they heard at the conference was their first time hearing them.
Yeah.
And so to be able to share with you, it's cooking, we are almost there, it's like 80% cooked.
Okay, tell me, tell
We
me.
are signing an MOU with the University of Ghana, where we are going to do, and this result came from the conference when the professors went back and mentioned that, hey, we need to do something different. So the University of
Mm,
Ghana has a college of education, and we're signing an MOU very soon with them, where we're going to
okay.
start certificate program in collaboration with the university, and they are going to host the next dyslexia conference. And we are going to embark on a research together with their research lab as well. So this is some
Oh,
of what
amazing.
came out of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, congratulations on that. Okay, so this is what we need to do though, Rosalind. We need to put a charge out to other African countries to
Yes,
start doing this thing, to start doing
absolutely.
the same, to take your lead and start, well, and not only African countries, let's just say
Everywhere.
countries worldwide. Everyone needs to do this.
Yeah,
Everyone needs to do this.
yeah.
When you are looking at 20 to 30% of your population, and to your point, when you were saying back when you're talking about when you went to the ministries, do you see deaf students? Do you see blind students? Do you see disabled students? Yes, they are there. Absolutely. But when I look back at the students that I've had in my classroom, um, I've been an educator for 25 years. I've had one deaf student. One. I have had I've never had a blind student. I've maybe had one student who was in a wheelchair, but they were not in my classroom. when I look back at how many students that I had that were autistic or ADHD or oppositional defiance or did I already say autism? Dyslexic, dyspraxic. I can pinpoint in each of my classes that I've had at least 3 to 4 in each class. And so we need to start. Inclusion is not only students who have physical disabilities. Inclusion is very much people who are neurodivergent, and we need to accommodate for that. And what I love that you are doing with the conference is that a lot of times people need to see to believe that certain things are possible, and see and to be aware of what's going on, and to see
Absolutely.
that they're not alone. So to see that you were able to do that and to have such success, to have such success in doing that, and to have things, I was going to just ask you what's coming next, but clearly that is what's coming next is these partnerships. Congratulations with the success of the conference. By all accounts, it was a huge success. And I know that there's so much more to come, but you're also working with workplaces being more inclusive and awareness growing in that aspect. And so is there anything that people need to look out for in that space moving forward?
Yes, 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 yes. There's so many exciting things that are coming up, both in
Mm.
education and workplace. So for us next year, we're going to focus on a lot of consulting and awareness work in organizations. I'm
Mm.
heading to Rwanda in few days, and so I'm going to also
Okay.
approach the Ministry of Education over there, and same as Kenya as well. I'm heading to Kenya from Rwanda, and so I'm trying to connect few things together and see what we can do in that space. However, our biggest project that is ahead of us, and we'll need your support as well when we start, is
Please. I would be
coming
happy
up
to.
with an edtech learning platform. We
Okay.
know that we are very good in organizing trainings via Zoom and people tuning in from all over Africa. But having trainers always be live and training is can be exhausting and a lot.
Mhm.
So we want to we building which we have the concept note and we are approaching partners and funders to help funders is we are coming up with a learning platform where we will have different segments or levels of recorded trainings built on
Mm.
it and also partly powered with AI. And the goal is to use it to train 1 million teachers by 2030. And
Okay,
so,
Rosalind, I can't tell you everything that I'm working on right now, but something is definitely in the works that we can collaborate on. We'll have a
yes,
meeting and talk about
that's
it.
awesome. So, yes, so we
Oh,
need all
good.
collaborators. We need collaboration with schools. We need collaborations with organizations that could even pay for teachers to be able to take the trainings on them. We need partnership with trainers and facilitators. So this is our next biggest goal is because 1
Mm.
million teachers is not a joke, but it is possible once you have all the connecting collaborators, especially with the ministries of education, who will make it mandatory for some teachers to be on it. It is possible. So aside we doing a certificate program or a conference and all that, that is our focus. And then other focus is also in the area of research across the continent. And again, calling out to supporters. If you're listening to this podcast, you could even be a supporter to some of the research we want to undertake. And
Mm.
you reach out to us. We can share more of our 2030 vision. I've just told you about 20% of that in this podcast.
Well,
So many.
you are welcome to come back and tell us more. I'd have you on anytime, but I'll definitely will drop anything into the show notes that people need to see. But let's talk about just some practical advice and some call to actions moving forward with what people can do as we start to wrap everything up. From your work just across the continent, what advice would you give to parents who suspect that their child might be dyslexic or have another related learning difference?
Be patient with your child. You are the number one. Advocate for your child. Nobody is going to believe in your child than yourself. You brought this child to your world. You are a steward to upbring this child in the best way possible. But if you don't know something you are seeing, the challenges you are seeing in your child, I mean, that's why you're listening to this podcast. Contact myself at Africa Dyslexia Organization, or contact Joy as well. On I'm sure her contact is there, and she will direct you to the best approach that can support your child. But what is not is that nothing is spiritual. And
Yeah.
so we want you to know that intervention can support your child very well, and that
Mm,
is what you should focus on as a parent. But believe in that child. Your child is not damaged. Your child is
yeah.
not being bewitched. Your child
Yeah.
is awesome. And we need your partnership to help that child.
Absolutely. Dyslexia is a difference in the way that your brain processes
Exactly.
language and words.
Exactly.
And one thing that I tell parents all the time, and I understand that, we were raised certain ways, and a lot of parents raise their kids the way they are raised themselves. But I hear parents all the time talking about spanking their children and punishing them for not doing well in school. And you can spank your child all you want. You can punish them all they want. It's not going to change the way that their brain processes. And so
Absolutely.
we need to start looking at things differently. So, keeping in that same vein, if we are going to look at from a classroom perspective, what advice would you give to teachers who want to better support dyslexic learners?
Well, if you're an educator and you want to support dyslexic learner, that's why you're listening to this podcast. So I'm
Mm,
sure by the time you got to this point, you have listened to everything that has said from the beginning. Get yourself right now onto a training. Get yourself, there's so
yes.
many training available on the internet. Get yourself learning so that you can be the best teacher. Position your mind that you want to be Mrs. Edina Meteme, the educator I referred to that said, I am good. Position yourself that you
Yes.
want to be that educator, because you never know. Maybe that child will be even the one to help you take care of you one
Yeah.
day.
For me, it was Dr. Kennedy. She was my middle school principal. She
Bless
figured out
her.
what was going on with
Bless
me.
her.
Absolutely. Okay, and let's zoom out one more time. If you were to give advice to ministries or policymakers, what just about change that they can make for dyslexic learners to thrive, what advice would you give them?
It will cost us a lot as a nation, as a continent, if we should have about 20 to 30% of our population being neurodivergent and we are not
Mm,
supporting them. One, it is a huge waste of potentials, and it's
yes.
going to affect us in the future. It affects us so many ways. You find a lot of them on the streets, and a lot of them will turn into bad people to come and harm you. And so,
Mm,
because of that, we need to invest adequately into training and resources for educators to best know how to support our learners who are struggling behind. So think about your
yes.
budgeting when you're budgeting for your inclusion. Don't let it your inclusion aspect or special education aspect be a thought after. Something that you know it has to be a priority. And one thing I would say is the investment that you put in supporting a child who is neurodivergent, that investment is not only for the child, it's for everybody in the classroom, because the approach of teaching a learner who is dyslexic is applicable to all. So why don't we do it
Absolutely.
that way? Now, your policies has to be reflective of these things that we're talking about. Don't just hide it and feel like, oh,
Yeah.
because we have inclusion for somebody who is visually impaired, is applicable to a child with dyslexia. No, you need
It's
to
not.
be
Absolutely.
different. And so you can contact Joy, you can contact myself at our organization, and we will
Yeah.
help direct your path, the path of your ministry of education to stand out in Africa.
Absolutely. What, just to your point about what you do for dyslexic learners helps all learners. It's it's like the tide. The tide raises the whole ship, right? When you are doing work to support a student who's on the outside and not those core students, you help the students who are in the core as well. So I tell parents and teachers that all the time. We're not asking you to go above and beyond and do something completely radical to support your dyslexic learners. No, we just want you to be mindful, and then knowing that those practices that you put in place are also going to help your other students. So finally, I'm sure that when students or anyone that was listening to this podcast, they're going to be inspired. And I want that inspiration to turn into people who can help and support you. So how can people support the Africa Dyslexia Organization and join this movement that you are spearheading?
How support is in many, many, many ways. From you, if you're an expert, being part of our network of practitioners who pour into our organization. We're looking for people that will train on pro bono basis. We're looking for people to fill different roles in a voluntary way. And then, of course, we're looking for resources.
Yeah.
Monetary resources is so important because if we can do the work we're doing and do it in a better way, we need money. And so, if you're capable and you can help us, we want you to prioritize us as an organization and give it maybe not something big. If it's big, great. If it's not big, great. We accept all forms of donation, and you can have it on our website, africadyslexia.org, and support us on a monthly basis or however you choose it. You can also just request to speak with me, Rosalin Chere, or sorry, Rosalin at africadyslexia.org, and we can discuss on how you can get involved with our organization. But I have shared some of our vision here with you. And so if you feel called to the task and to be part of this journey, we would love to have you.
Absolutely. So that was actually my next question, is how can people contact you? So I'll put the websites, your contact details, but social media, can people find you on social
We
media?
are on all social media platforms, Africa Dyslexia Organization, from Instagram, Facebook, X to TikTok to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you will find us. We are all over the platforms.
Perfect. We'll link everything in the show notes. I want as many people to be able to find you as possible because the work that you're doing is amazing. But if we can just take a moment to reflect, if you were to look back on everything that you've built and what you have built since 2020 is so amazing. But if you were to look back on everything that you've built, what's been the most rewarding part of your journey?
Hmm. Huh. I think I have answered this question already, but for me, I feel the rewarding part, which makes me happy, and that's why I've been doing it for 5 years, even though it doesn't pay me, is
Yeah.
the change I am seeing. The change I'm seeing from teachers' perspective, teachers being able to support their learners in the classroom now, at least the teachers that
Mm,
have come in contact with us and taken our training, to parents who are now self advocates for their children, to the
yeah.
ministries we are having good conversation with that seems that they understand and some of them taking actions. I say that is the change, the impact that really want to see. And that's the goal. I just want children, adults to be helped, or organizations being able to embrace inclusion and really being there to support their employees who are just like you and I. That for
Yeah.
me is the success. And most of the time I equate success like even if it's just one person's life that has
Mhm.
changed from this 5 years is a huge success because you have no idea what the damage could be if it's not. However, I'm grateful to say our success is more than thousands. And that
Yes.
for me is a huge milestone. And that's why I still wake up every day with my pocket dry. My hospitality side is calling me to come back to work, but I'm still like, oh, let me do for some few months. Let me do some few years. And we are still here. And I continue to be in this position to whenever possible.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And lastly, one question that I ask all guests on the podcast. We are called the Joy of Neurodiversity. So, what joy has dyslexia brought into your life?
Understanding myself,
Mm.
understanding that I am not stupid as they thought, because even though Joy, I went through the culinary school, became successful in my career, I was always questioning, like, am I that stupid? Like, it was playing in my mind all the time. And I always think myself very in a very limited box of
Yeah.
of thinking I'm not capable, even when I am capable, because it was
Mm.
playing a lot. So just being able to understand my own self and understand how beautiful my mind work and connect to bring solutions and brilliancy, like it's just
Mm.
so much. And for me, that is the joy. And because of that, I am able to freely use my experience to help another family not to go through
Mm.
what I went through. That's my joy.
Oh, I love
And
that. Thank
then
you
the
so much
last
for
one,
sharing
the
that.
last
Okay.
of it is, it has also helped me to connect to so many beautiful people within the
Wow.
dyslexia space, the learning difference,
Yes.
like people that are genuine, like people. I don't know. I tell people that this. I thought the hospitality space, I had it all, but the people within the dyslexia space, I
Wow.
mean, there are some few bad nuts, but are the most are the most genuine I can think of.
Yes.
And it has made me like so loved. And I mean, we're sitting here today just by because of the work we do.
Thank you so much, Rosalin. I just feel like this has been so long in coming, but I am so grateful and thankful that you trusted me to share your story, your courage, your vision. This conversation definitely reminds me of what's possible when lived experience turns into advocacy. I cannot think of many people that are a better example of that than you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the podcast today. I hope that people enjoy the conversation as much as I have enjoyed having it. Uh, it's been a joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu, for having me. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And maybe we do something to where you are going next. So let's talk later.
Oh, we are definitely doing something more. And also to everyone listening, if this episode resonated, please share it with a parent, a teacher, or a friend. Leave a comment for Rosalyn, and please make sure that you subscribe. It helps us spread the word about the work that we're doing. I truly believe that together we can change the way that the world sees dyslexia. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Joy of Neurodiversity. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, empowered, and seen. Remember, neurodiversity isn't something to fix, it's something to celebrate. If you loved this episode, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. It truly helps more people find this space of understanding and joy. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. And let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on Instagram at The Joy of Neurodiversity and LinkedIn at Joy Buckner. And share your thoughts using the hashtag The Joy of Neurodiversity. New episodes drop every other Thursday, so be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next dose of neurospicy brilliance, deep dives, and empowering conversations. Until next time, embrace who you are, celebrate how you think, and keep rewriting the narrative because the world needs your brilliance. Think big, be bold, And never dim your neurodivergent spark, because we were never meant to fit in.